Good morning, good morning, good morning, beautiful people. Happy Thursday. Whew, I got some tea for y'all, man. And I usually don't really tell much about my life on here. I try to stay very general. I try to stay anonymous and amplified, right? Essentially, because this podcast is not necessarily about me. I believe it's about the people that come on here. And I believe that I'm here to serve with my voice, in whatever capacity the Lord leads me. So let's start off with the intro. Welcome to Anonymous and Amplified, a place where you can speak freely and be unashamed about your story and embrace your truth. My name is Liz, the creator and the owner of Anonymous and Amplified. We stayed with that name, so we're going to just rock out with it. So today, let's just jump into it. We are talking about going no contact with family. This is where we're gonna get a little deep, just as a PSA, trigger warning, to anyone who has had traumatic experiences with their families, who is in the midst of going through traumatic experiences with their families. It's important that if you are not comfortable with this conversation, that you are able to feel free to log off. This might not be the conversation you want to hear, because it's going to be a pretty heavy one, and I feel like I want to talk through it, which is why we are here this morning as early as we are. So, my family dynamic is very strange. It has always been estranged. Unfortunately, I believe when my great grandmother passed away on my paternal side, that is when the cracks in the family that were already there started to get even bigger. The family secrets, the gaslighting, the discord, the chaos, the trauma. It didn't start today, right? In 2025, these are things that I seen as a kid, and as I grew up, there was a lot of trauma that I experienced from my family. And with that, I really did have such great friendships. Like in high school, I remember just laughing until tears was coming down and just having these great relationships for years on years, that really helped me mentally and emotionally, I think, be safe. When I moved out of my family's house as I got older, around 23, 22, I moved out. It was in the midst of a transition. My great grandmother had just passed. And with that, I believed that the people in the house that were causing the chaos, or so I thought, should be removed. So I made steps to evict them, essentially, from the property. Um, my father was not pleased with that. So yeah, there was that. Shortly after I left, and that's kind of where it really started, from when I was living in the property, that there was a lot I experienced. But I think that was the catalyst, and that was the start of it. So we fast forward to today, where I have allowed these people essentially to have access to me in a way that they've never had, because I left my hometown in 2020. We're in 2025. So we're talking about 6 years ago at this point. Over the course of the 6 years, I've had struggles. I've, been through a lot. I've overcame a lot. And I'm really in a transitional phase in my life, right, even right now. With that, I decided to take on becoming essentially a guardian for a child, for a family member. And because of that, it put me in a real tricky situation, currently. Still dealing with the after effects of it. I never reach out for help. God has been with me. He's been my father. He's been my mother. He's nurtured me. He's protected me. So essentially, whether it was graduating college with no debt or buying my first home, my family had nothing to do with this. They didn't help me furnish the property, invest in the property. A lot of the things were just me and the Lord. And I have to give God credit, because honestly, I couldn't have made it this far without him, because I really had no type of familiar support or guidance. There were sprinkles of guidance with my uncle, where I think he gave me he let me work at one of his establishment. So that really kind of changed my mindset about entrepreneurship and what was possible. So I'll give him that. My great grandmother, she also kind of planted seeds in me when it came to entrepreneurship and legacy. Anyway, I reached out for help for some things because I had, I was a guardian for this child. And it spread around the family like wildfire because I never asked for help. So it becomes a situation now where, and I'm speaking like this because I'm still in the midst of it and I want to stay private, like keep privacy there. Really because um I am still processing the healing portion of it for myself. Um I realized not only was I gaining weight, my skin is not like, I've always had really good skin and my skin is not as bright. My eyes are not as bright as they once were. And essentially the things God gave to me as dreams were things that were started to be taken away. I'm obviously a Christian. You guys been on this platform, I know not all of the viewers and the people listening are Christian, but I am. I believe in spiritual things. I believe Christ died on the cross. I believe in all of that. And I also believe that things released prematurely can really be something that works against what God is doing in your life. And I started recognizing I had unnecessary warfare happening in my household and my finances and just things that just didn't make sense to me. And I couldn't understand what was going on. And I didn't recognize that the, potentially there was an open door. Um, and an open door to them having access in a way they should have never had access. I've always prided myself, even when I was a kid, on moving away from home and never seeing those people again and disconnecting. I moved to another state across the country. I shut down all connections. I stopped speaking to them altogether. I didn't tell them I left. I just left. And I think I wrote something on Instagram that I want to share because I believe it's how I'm processing what is happening. So I'm going to read it to y'all. Hold on a second. Let me make sure I cut this volume down because it really was something that I believe the Lord gave to me. So I said I've went no contact with my family before, and I'm doing it again now. Now, when I did it before, I didn't do it because they did anything to me at this time. I felt in my spirit that the Lord was like, get out. Like, you need to basically run for your life. So I ran for my life. And when I say it worked out farther than I could imagine, better than I could imagine, God changed my life. I don't know what would have happened had I stayed. It changed my life for the better. So I wrote, it's the best decision in toxic family dynamics to cut all contact. I said, whenever you find yourself sliding back thinking things have changed, it has not. Stay disconnected. I said, most people won't understand your why or tell you because that's family, accept it. No, trauma doesn't just affect your body, but it affects your mind. Stay away. I find that even the people that often stay silent, while these terrorizers, right, the terrorizers are the people in the family that's creating the chaos, throwing the rock, hiding their hands, creating the discord. They're not calling for things to come together. They're calling for chaos, right? Because they have something in them. And I don't know like the terms for it already. I mean, I have a psychology degree, but I don't have a counseling degree. So with that, I'm not gonna diagnose these people because I'm not licensed for that. But I'm gonna call them terrorizers for the sake of conversation. These terrorizers in the family terrorize, and the people that stay silent don't realize this makes them complicit. It often fuels the main plot of the terrorizer, right? So we have the silent people, the terrorizers, and the black sheeps. They believe that their silence makes them not guilty, but really they are adding fuel to the fire by not actually speaking up. In turn, you have to go no contact with them as well, because why are you not speaking up when you see that something is wrong? The terrorizer is a person or persons who gang up on a person. They shift blame, lie, deceive, abuse, and organize chaos to push an agenda and shift blame back to the black sheep. Most of the time, the rest of the family believes the terrorizer over the black sheep. No one actually questions why the terrorizer is attacking the black sheep. They will shift blame and bring up anything negative on the black sheep to confirm their suspicions. This is often projection and magnified, right? So, what I'm saying in this post, and I mean, I don't know, these were just like clear thoughts, is that in this situation that I'm in, I got sucked into it, and the story that's being told, or the story that will be told, is something I'm not new to. I want you guys to understand this is not my first rodeo. And I hate to say that because it sounds so bad, but it's true. It's not the first time I went no contact. It's not the first time I moved across the country. It's not the first time. And every time I've connected back with the family, it has gotten me in a worse predicament versus being in a better space. Um, so there's that. So I can't tell you why you should go no contact. I can't be like, do it this way, do it that way. I won't do that because honestly, it is a big decision. It's a painful decision. It's a decision that a lot of people are not going to understand. It's a decision where you will question whether or not you're making the right decision. It is a huge, huge thing to consider. And I believe that if you even clicked on this video, just the thought of you going no contact, that to me means that there's something in your heart that's saying to you, this might be what I need. So I want to loudly tell you guys, if you're considering going no contact, you need to get in community. You need to get some good friendships. You need to get some great hobbies. You need to get out there, meet people, and be community. Do not isolate. Do not let the enemy use this as something to isolate yourself from the world. Everyone is not like this. And I find that over the course of my life, God has given me amazing friendships that I'm so grateful for. People that have been there for me way more than my family. And I think you have this expectation that family should come through for you, you know. And I think I realized, even like I said, if I didn't have this psychology background, or if I didn't have my connection to the Lord, I would have really thought I was wrong, right? I would have really believed that. But even the way my therapist framed it is kind of like, you as the black sheep, because that's what I'm the black sheep of the family. I don't fit in because I can't just stay complicit and passive about things that are not right. You even taking on the guardianship of someone with no help, monetary help from the family. And what started to happen was they would try to send money to the child and not to me as an adult that's taking care of the child, not really recognizing that, hey, we have, bills are going up, things are happening because this child is here, right? Essentially. I was drowning taking care of that child. And I wasn't worried about drowning as long as the child was good. And there was been some backhanded, suspicious, sneaky things done behind my back to get that child back to with their parent versus being here. It was done very disrespectfully. It was done very nastily. It was very much calculated, precise, planned. And there were multiple people involved in this decision to get this child back without my knowledge, essentially. There was a lot of things that was orchestrated to get the child out of my care, which is crazy too, right? And in the midst of me making these sacrifices for the past 3 or 4 years that I've had this child in my home, and I always call it our home because I treated the child like my own child, for someone who I'm estranged from. So I'm estranged from the person's parent, the child's parent, and I still took on the relationship and being a parental person, like a parent to this child. because essentially I love this child. So I believe that I was making the best decision for this child, even though the decision wasn't the best for me. So I sacrificed myself to make sure this child was good. And with that, it's kind of like you get a slap in the face, because the better the child did, the more issues grew. And I almost feel like I'm currently being gaslit into believing that the reasoning for this person snatching his child is because, oh, with you it's not stable, so I'm gonna just make sure I take care of it, but thank you for the job you did. And even when this person bragged and claimed they had an account set up for this child, and, oh, I have an account. I said, oh, hey, here's this bill for the child that you could pay since you have the money, right? Quote unquote, to take care of it. Oh, no, I don't have it. I only have enough for the child's flight back home. This was the story I was told, because this is a lie, right? Now, the parent in the situation, we allegedly we shared the same parent. Um, and this parent kind of, I would say, feigned innocence in the situation, and made it seem like, hey, I'm going to be there for you, keep me looped in, keep me updated, let me know what's going on, blah blah blah. So when I started updating this person, I never said I was going to help you. I never said that. I never said I was going to help you. I never said, and I ain't forget this and I ain't forget that, and I ain't never say I was going to help you, right? So now the person like, oh, you need to rethink our conversation because you don't know what you're talking about, because I never said that. Mind you, the person did say that. I remember it clearly. But you know what's funny? This is not the first time that this has happened. It's not. So I understand that these terrorizers, right, the people in the family that's creating the chaos, but they want to make it seem, they are projecting like, oh, Liz is the problem. Liz is the issue. She's this, she's that, she's not well, she needs help. This is going on, that's going on, to the point where these people don't recognize, not only am I seeing the messages from this child, I also see the amount of times that this person essentially um asked this child about me. What's she doing? Where's she at? Where's she working? What she got going on? Not asking about the child, but asking about me. Why would you ask about me? It's not really about me. As long as a person is being taken care of, it doesn't matter. So I've made the decision publicly to go no contact. I've posted it on multiple social media. So I'm definitely sure, 99.9% sure, that probably there are a lot of conversations happen about me. There's a lot of discourse that's going to come, I believe, from the family dynamic. They are going to shift blame. They are going to say, oh, she's going through something, she's not well, something's going on, and we're concerned about her. They are going to act so concerned. They are going to act like they are checking in, and, oh, it's flooding in your area, is everything okay? Because they have to present like this was not the plan all along. And the thing about it, what people do when it comes to manipulation, it comes to like someone speculating, they're going to present it like they did everything they could to help. They were so accommodating and so nice, right? To make it seem like that I'm the aggressor. So if you're dealing with anything resembling what I'm talking, if I'm talking and you're like, my family does that, my family does that, like I've been to therapy for it, we've talked through it, blah, 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 blah. I'm telling you right now, you need to pray about going no contact. So what does no contact mean? Because I feel like I've been going in and out of my situation and sharing it with you guys. But I also believe, like I said, I believe this will help somebody. I don't know why I'm doing this video. I don't. So if this is helping you, put this comment below, like, comment, share. Tell me what you think about this episode, because it is long. So, ultimately, no contact means no contact. Whether that's blocking, changing your phone number, changing your social media handles, blocking anyone associated with the family, connected to the family, that putting your phone on do not disturb. These are all things that you can do to go no contact. The first step is not to tell them. I don't believe if it's a situation where people are more combative, you don't necessarily have to do what I did and say it. I called my family member and said, I'd never want to speak to y'all again. Send this message to everybody. Like, don't talk to me. Leave me alone. And blocked everybody. That you don't have to do it that dramatic. I did it that way because I was hurt. Normally I wouldn't say nothing, but because of the way the situation happened, it triggered a response out of me that I wouldn't normally have done. So if you're in a good place financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and the one thing that's negative, now we're not talking about regular family dynamics, like regular family dynamics. That is not when you go no contact, right? I'm talking about purpose, blame shifting, gaslighting, lying, stalking, harassing, bullying. I'm talking about organized chaos. I'm talking about um, lack of help, right? Lack of compassion, lack of empathy, lack of care. I'm talking about abuse. I'm talking about mental abuse, financial abuse, emotion. Like I'm talking about extreme situations. If you and your mom don't decide, like if you dating a guy who's toxic and your mom don't like him, that's not what I'm talking about. If your dad wants you to get your life together at 35 and you still living this reckless life and he's trying to teach you a lesson, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about broken families to the point that when you try to help heal what's going on, you get cut. And I have to forgive these people because I'm a Christian, and you have to forgive your family because you got to forgive them. Whether you believe in Christ or not, you have to forgive them because if you do not forgive them, it will weigh you down in your heart. It will weigh you down in your mind. It will weigh you down, and you will be bitter and you will be resentful and you will be negative. And that's not what you want for your life. That's what any of us wants for our lives. So you have to forgive them, but you don't have to forget. And what I did was I forgot. I forgot what it was. I assumed things changed. I assumed that they grew because I grew. I assumed that they healed because I've been in therapy all these years. I assumed these things, and I shouldn't have assumed it because it was a plan all along. And the way that this family member does not know I know the things that she says about me. That's the kicker, right? Because these people are going to talk nice to you because there's something that they want, right? She wanted access to the child. She wanted the child to come back to her, even though where she is not stable, right? She is going to present in a way this person is going to speak nice. They're going to have the mask on, essentially. And that mask kind of hides the true intent behind the person. So I knew the things this person was saying because of the fact people were telling me. This person does not know that. So when they're texting me and being nice and trying to be accommodating, I understand that behind my back, they're threatening me. They want to fight me. They think this, they cursing about me. They wishing bad on me. They don't know that I know this. And they don't know that I know that they're connecting with other siblings or like other people in the families that I guess essentially just other siblings or whoever to push an agenda. And one thing I remember saying to someone that was involved previously, and they were like, "Oh, well, you should let them see the child." And da da da. I said, "Why do you think this child is at my space? Why do you think they're here?" And the person got quiet. I said, "Have you ever called me to ask my version of the story?" No. I said, "You've never contacted me and said, hey, this is what I'm hearing. Are you good? Blah, blah, blah." And when this child got to that destination so abruptly, didn't even pack clothes, no one called me. Normally, when the child was here, my phone was ringing off the hook. But once the child left, there was nobody contacting me because they got what they want. And that child has a lot of information that they're good with. So they're set with, okay, I know this, I know that about her. Kind of like she was a spy living in house where I didn't really know what was going on. When I tell you they were talking about me, like the stuff that I found out, I'm seeing specific conversations and things that I've either talked about in front of this child. So it was kind of like this child was reporting back to this parent, and the parent was weaponizing this child to get access to me. That's when you go no contact. Okay, now I know for me this may fly over a lot of people's heads. They may have never experienced this. They may have. I pray that people don't experience this. This is not a good feeling. It's not something you're proud of. Like, who doesn't want a good family dynamic? You know, who would move away from peace and move away from joy and move away from love? Usually, if you're sane or you're healed, you would want to be closer to people who are loving you. And I wouldn't have moved across the country. I wouldn't have moved to a different time zone to get away from these people. I wouldn't have cut them off if they were good to me. And I think that you could never give enough to someone who truly wants your life, wants your essence, wants your joy, and wants to be you. You could never give them enough. You could give up everything and it still wouldn't be enough. So even though this person saw me like kind of really struggling to show up parental, as a parent for this child, and almost mimicking the things that I did here with the child, trying to mimic the same thing and say, oh, I'm going to do this. And like, I'm going to, do this for the child. And you're not stable and you're not this and you're not that. It's really a lie, because this child was in the best position or best predicament in her life being here. And it sucks for the child as well, because I can't communicate with the child because of the situation with a strange parent. And I think for me, this is a perfect example of why you should go no contact. So I definitely think blocking, limiting social media, anyone connected to these people, you may have to block them. You may have to start blocking people that you grew up with because this person has connections to them. And like, oh, you follow her. Do you see what's going on? Like, you might have to be that serious and change your number. You might have to be, people be like, oh, that's too much. Why are you doing all of that? But that's sometimes what you have to do to keep the peace. And not keep the peace in terms of being passive, but keep the peace in your own life so that toxicity don't spill over. And obviously, if you could hear how I normally do the podcast, this is raw emotion. Y'all are getting the fresh healing journey, like recent events. Y'all are getting the full conversation. And obviously, I've left a lot out. A lot out. But I want to say to anyone that is considering no contact, anyone that is praying about it, maybe this might be a sign from the Lord where you scrolling on YouTube and my video just pops up. I just want to pray and tell you it's going to be okay, sis or bro. Just because you have to set this boundary does not mean you're alone. Does not mean you're not loved. Does not mean you're abandoned, and it does not mean you're rejected. It just means that God, he loves you so much that he is removing you from a situation that is drowning you. And he is removing you from a situation because you won't remove yourself. And he is allowing these people to act in a way that is consistent with the things that you remember in your childhood or in your your adulthood even. He's allowing them to trigger you, or to and I won't say offend you, but to expose themselves essentially, because if they wanted to help, they could have. And when someone cares for you and considers you, you know it. And when they don't, they don't. So don't feel guilty. Don't go back, and don't let anyone convince you that you need family in the same in the sense of them being toxic and it's harmful to you mentally and emotionally, especially if it's physical too. I hope and I send love to all of y'all because, like I said, I'm navigating this a second time or maybe a third. I think I've went no contact quite a few times over the years. I'm navigating it in real time. And I can't imagine not having community or friends or vent somewhere to vent to a relationship with God to really kind of pour out and just have a safe space to express the pain. And people have seen it from the beginning to the end. And they recognize, because they do have good parents, they can recognize that this is not okay. Because they have great family dynamics, they recognize this is not how normal family operates. And even when family don't get it right, you forgive, but you don't forget. So if you are in an emotionally or mentally abusive, financially abusive family dynamic, my prayer to you is that you pray about it. You get therapy. You get the help you need. You set those boundaries often, and you do not feel guilty for setting those boundaries. That you make sure you have a safe space. Make sure you have community. Join a church, join a club, join an organization, become a part of something. So the hurt and the feelings of loneliness won't overtake you, and that you can be very sober about the environment and curate the environment that you actually want to be in. So that's my prayer for y'all. That's my prayer for myself. And this is not the end for you. This is just a new beginning. I'm talking to myself just like I'm talking to y'all. And I believe that we'll all get through this and understand that you are loved. If ain't nobody else tell you today they love you, I do. Right? Thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of this platform for all these years. Thank you for listening to Anonymous and Amplified, formerly was Faceless Podcast. Um, I pray that this video was not as chaotic as it felt, and that you're able to really process um, your own pain, because you clicked on this video for a reason. So I hope that you're able to process what you've been through. Of course, we love you here at Anonymous and Amplified. And of course, if you ever want to email us, it is facelesspodcast@gmail.com. So it's FACELES podcast@gmail.com. I would love to hear from y'all and hear y'all stories about your no contact journey, and maybe even interview someone in coming weeks on what it's been like for them. So, all right. I love y'all. I look forward to seeing y'all again soon. And I hope this video helps. Okay. Speak to you later. Liz B over and out. Bye.